I'd like to welcome you tonight for our candidates event for school committee candidates. This is the second of 3 events that we're holding for candidates in the local election being held on November 4th. The ward councillor candidate event will be held next Wednesday, October 29th. We're presenting these events in collaboration with the Waltham Times, the e-newspaper for Waltham, and I'd like to recognize June Kinoshita, the editor of the Waltham Times. Early voting is being held from Saturday, October 25th, through Tuesday, October 28th, at the Malone Municipal Building in Waltham. And there's a handout there if you want to take it for the hours. The last day to register to vote for this election is Saturday, October 25th, and you can do that in person at the Malone Building. We also have membership applications for the League of Women Voters if anyone would like to join, and I have about a dozen pocket constitutions if anybody would like to take a constitution. This event is being live streamed by Waltham's Channel 781, and it will also be available on YouTube at the Channel 781 YouTube channel. And WCAC will also have this available as well. I will be the moderator for tonight's event, and I'm going to explain what the format will be for this event. First, each candidate will have a 2-minute introductory statement. Next, there will be 4 rounds of questions that have been prepared by the League of Women Voters and the Waltham Times. And then at the end of the event, each candidate will have a closing statement. Each person will have 2 minutes to respond to the question. When there are 30 seconds left, our timer, Karen, will hold up a sign for 30 seconds. And when your time is up, we request that you stop speaking to allow the next candidate to have a chance. The other thing I would like to remind people is face the audience when answering the question so that the sound may be clear. Now I'll go back to the desk and we'll start the event. First, the 2-minute opening statement, and the first person will be Liz Al-Jamal.
Good evening. I would like to thank the League of Women Voters for this opportunity, and to thank all of you for being here this evening. My name is Liz Al-Jamal, and I'm honored to be running for re-election to the Waltham School Committee. My husband and I have proudly called Waltham home since 2000, where we have chosen to raise our 2 daughters. Our oldest graduated Waltham High School in 2021, and our younger daughter is a senior at Waltham High. I am the only candidate who has had children at every level within the Waltham Public Schools, giving me first-hand insight into both the tremendous potential and the challenges within our district. I earned my Master of Social Work degree from Boston College, and I am a licensed certified social worker. My training in social work equips me with essential skills, such as active listening, critical thinking, cultural competence, and advocacy. I bring these skills to my role on the school committee every day. For the past 18 years, I have been an active and engaged parent in Waltham Public Schools. I have served on PTOs, school site councils, and the Special Education Parent Advisory Council. I participated in multiple search committees and contributed to working groups focused on equity, social emotional learning, strategic planning, and the creation of an alternative high school. During my 9 years on the Waltham School Committee, I have helped lead our district through extraordinary challenges and achievements, from navigating daily bomb threats and steering our schools through the COVID-19 pandemic, to helping to oversee the siting, construction, and opening of the new Waltham High School, launch the growth of our dual language school, and the creation and opening of Valor High School. These experiences have given me a deep understanding of education policy, district operations, fiscally responsible budgeting, and the importance of community engagement. I believe in Waltham's capacity to provide every child with an excellent, equitable education. I am running for re-election to continue moving our district forward. And just as a side note, the school committee is currently in contract negotiations, so there may be things that I cannot answer fully. Thank you.
Next, Tammy Wong Bigelow.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming, and thank you to the League of Women Voters and to Waltham Times for holding this forum. My name is Tammy Wong Bigelow, and I'm honored to be here before you as a candidate for the school committee with a vision to provide Waltham's youth the educational experience to succeed in our global community. I believe in the power of education to shape our world. As a mother of 3 empathetic young humans and a lifelong learner and educator, I understand deeply how quality, well-rounded education turns our young dreamers into doers and successful leaders. With my master's in education and as the only educator running for a school committee seat with nearly 20 years experience, I have a deep commitment to ensuring our schools provide the best opportunity for our future leaders. In my career, I have gained insight into education, not just at the local level, but nationally as well. With family connections around the world, I have also had the opportunity to discuss and compare our education systems, what is working and what isn't. I will bring this broad education perspective to the school committee as we work together to ensure education excellence for all our students. Waltham is a community of caring, generous, and supportive people. We need to direct that support toward our youngest, most vulnerable residents and to all the youth in Waltham, not just in our beautiful playgrounds around the city, but in enriching their minds with resources that will both challenge and support them to become independent thinkers and lifetime learners. I am running for school committee because I believe if we work collaboratively with parents, teachers, and administrators with open communication, we can ensure that our schools are safe and inclusive environments where every child thrives and has a competitive edge in the world. Together, we can build a stronger, more equitable school system for all students, parents, and teachers alike, where we can stand strong knowing our graduates are kind, empathetic, globally minded thinkers, doers, and leaders. Their success in Waltham is Waltham's success, and I will bring this up.
Next, Deborah Coleman.
Hello, my name is Debbie Coleman, and I'm proud to be running for re-election to the Waltham School Committee. I was first elected 4 years ago, and for the past 2 years, I've been serving as vice chair. For those who don't know me, I moved to Waltham from the Chicago suburbs in 2007. My husband and I have made our home in North Waltham since 2011, and our daughters, Paige in 5th grade and Sloan in 3rd, attend Northeast Elementary. They're actually here tonight, sitting in the back if you see them back there. I'm a graduate of Purdue University and built my career in human resources, specializing in recruitment and immigration. That background has given me a deep appreciation for building teams, fostering inclusion, and managing complex systems. Skills that have been invaluable in my work in the school committee. Since being sworn in January 2021, I've learned a tremendous amount and have been proud to help guide significant progress in our district. In just 4 years, we've completed and opened the new Waltham High School, relocated the dual language school, 617 Lexington, to support its growth, created Waltham Valor High School to help all students graduate, launched 4 new CTE programs, expanded the Waltham Family School into a larger space, and hired a new superintendent to lead our district forward. We've also overseen annual budgets, engaged in collective bargaining, and conducted an equity audit to better understand and address student needs in the district. We were asked tonight to share what unique skills we bring to this role. I believe my 20 years in human resources, my 4 years of experience on the Waltham School Committee, including 2 of those as vice chair, and my perspective as a parent of 2 students in Waltham Public Schools allow me to serve with both empathy and accountability. My focus remains on ensuring every student has the access to high quality, equitable education, and on planning thoughtfully for the future of our district. Thank you.
Next, Sabrina DeJohannes.
Good evening. I'm Sabrina DeJohannes. Thank you, League of Women Voters, for inviting me tonight. I am running for school committee to set a smart, long-term vision for our school district and clearly communicate it. I have 2 elementary school girls in the school system and have a vested interest in its long-term success. I was inspired to serve from the hundreds of hours I spent as a classroom volunteer in their school. I have experienced a Waltham classroom today. I have a connection to all current stakeholders. I have seen the value of individualized time and space in allowing each student to reach their full potential regularly. I believe all the students come to us with their unique gift. Our job as leaders is to unlock that potential, spark their curiosity, and inspire them to soar by removing barriers and providing space, support, and guidance for them to be their best selves. I'm methodical and tenacious. When I was 13, I decided to come to the US to study engineering. 5 years later, I was here studying chemical engineering at WPI. I asked questions, figured out the process, made a plan, and followed through. I will employ the same dedicated focus and roll up my sleeves to serve all Waltham students, English language learners, special education, gifted, and everyone in between. Dual language school student population closely mimics that of the entire district as a whole, and as such, my volunteer hours there give me a good understanding of our district today. Should I be elected to the school committee, I will focus on student achievement. All students deserve to master a basic set of skills before they go on to being adults. I will advocate for clear and consistent consequences early to reduce discipline issues at the high school. I will also ensure long-term stability and vision. I will drive difficult conversations to a decision point for closure and communicate it. Thank you.
Now we'll start with the first round of questions. I'm going to read a statement before this about policy. According to the Waltham School Department website, the school committee is responsible for all questions of general policy, which may include, to the extent allowed by law, establishing educational goals and policies, establishing performance standards for and the employment process of personnel, the selection and termination of the superintendent and assistant superintendents, and the review and approval of budgets. So with that policy focus in mind, the first question is for Ms. Al-Jamal. What are the goals that you have set or would set for high school graduation in Waltham, now that the MCAS is no longer a graduation requirement?
We had a presentation about this just last night at the school committee meeting. Now that MCAS is no longer a graduation requirement, we are tasked with coming up with a competency determination in order to determine which of our high school students are ready for graduation. And we need to submit that plan to DESE, the Department of Education, pretty soon. They changed the deadline on it again. So what the district is suggesting is that there are different classes that are required. So the graduation requirements remain the same that we have. All students need to have 130 credits in order to graduate, and there are different classes that are required. Within those classes, we are now going to require that a final assessment is passed with a 60 or greater to show mastery in that particular class. So there are history classes, science classes, English classes, and math classes that count towards that competency. And once those are met and the graduation requirements are met, then the student is allowed to graduate.
The second question is for Tammy Wong-Bigelow. This question is also focused on the policy. What goals are set or should be set for elementary school students in reading and math?
So this question actually comes at a pretty good time because the Boston Globe magazine had talked about it as well, so I just read about it. The policies that we already have policies about taking the test to make sure that the students are reading at grade level in the elementary schools. And I want to take a moment to think about how in Mississippi and in Louisiana they have started to have a third to fourth grade formative assessment that if they pass, they can move on to the fourth grade. If they do not, they stay in the third grade to help them with their foundational learning. And I think that is actually a very good idea so that our students do not move on without knowing how to read and using phonetics to sound out the words and making sure that they understand what they're reading. Because from third grade to fourth grade is a big difference. You're not just reading words anymore. You have to read for understanding. You have to read to make sure you know the deeper meaning, have the more context to it. So I think that that is a great idea that they have in Mississippi and Louisiana, and that we can think about adopting as well to make sure that our kids in the most formative years have the reading and arithmetic they need to move on. Not to say that high-stakes tests is a great idea, as we've seen from MCAS, but this being in the elementary school, making sure that they have the fundamentals to move on in the academic years, I think is a good way to go. Thank you.
The next question is for Deborah Coleman. What are the areas in the Waltham schools that are most in need of improvement?
I would say that the two areas we can focus on the most in the Waltham Public Schools would be student achievement and mental health. For students to be able to achieve all the success that they're able to get out of our public school system, they have to have a solid mental health background, whether it's through social emotional learning in the school, access to counselors, access to guidance, whoever it may be. I think that is a strong thing that we need to have in place for students to reach their full potential. Student achievement, every student is different. It's different what each student's goals are. It's different where they're at the moment. You might be looking at a class of 7th graders, and some may be struggling to read at grade level. Some may be so far beyond grade level that they need to be challenged. So it's meeting them where they're at and making sure that we have the supports in place for the ones that are struggling, as well as the ones that are high achieving. Student success and student achievement means different things to everyone, whether it's being career ready when they leave the high school, whether it's having a degree in high school so that they can move on to higher education. I think we need to be able to focus on all students and have opportunities available for our English language learners, folks in special education, typical learners, atypical learners, students that need to be challenged more. It's great that they have the options and the different paths that they can take. So student achievement is one of the areas that I think we can work on.
Thank you. The next question is for Sabrina De Joannes. In Waltham, more than 70% of 4th and 8th graders do not read at grade level, according to the National Assessment of Educational Progress in 2024. What specific changes do you propose to remedy this deficiency?
Reading is a very important skill in life. Our schools have a good set of curriculums. When I volunteered in our school, what I noticed in the early elementary ages, we need a lot of bodies. We might have 1 or 2 dysregulated students, a lot of building resources go to those dysregulated students. In the meantime, the rest of the class is not following the instructions. If we could have paraprofessionals, student classroom aides in the classrooms, that would help them redirect some of the dysregulated students, or have the adjustment counselor help them recenter themselves so they are ready to learn. I have seen a lot of that happening, and for one teacher, it is difficult to do the job of teaching to all the rest of the students when something like that happens. We also need to invest in some high-quality online tutoring that we did get a grant for a couple of years ago when Dr. Kent was here. We need to continue doing that so we can catch students early. If they're not attaining their grade level, they could have access to those trainings, those tutoring services online to supplement their reading.
Thank you. Now we'll go to the second round of questions. Liz Al-Jamal, what is the greatest strength of the Waltham Public School system?
Greatest strength of Waltham Public Schools, I know it's probably going to sound ridiculous. In my opinion, is the diversity that we have. Does it pose challenges? Absolutely. But it is such a blessing to have our children in these schools where they see other children from all countries and speaking all these different languages and coming from different socioeconomic backgrounds and just learning beside them and realizing that yes, the greater world is made up of so many different people. And just having that in their nurturing years in school helps someone to get out into the world. My daughter graduated from Waltham High. She went off to college and came into contact with other people who lived in very isolated communities where they didn't have a lot of diversity. And it was difficult for them to connect with people who weren't like them because they weren't used to it. That's something that our children just grow up naturally, accepting other people and learning to accept differences. And that's just a huge, huge strength for them.
Thank you. The next question is for Tammy Bigelow. What is the most urgent area in need of improvement?
I think that the most urgent area that we have in need of improvement is equity in our schools. It's great that we have the diversity in our schools, but we don't always see the same resources doled out to everyone. And it's not a fairness, you can't just put everyone on the equal plane. You have to, dole resources out to uplift people who need it most, right? So, the whole rising tide meets all ships kind of deal. And I think that with equity, it's all about the resources, prioritizing our resources for special education, for ELL, and for, I think, early childhood education for preschools, because right now we only have 2 hours, a lot of preschools. Some there's full day, but there's mostly 2 hours and 2 hours 15 minutes of preschool. With settling down, transition time, that's barely any learning time at all for them, and that's in their most formative years. So having resources, equitable resources to help bring everyone up, I think, is the most urgent issue that we have in our schools.
Thank you. The next question is for Deborah Coleman. Does the school committee play a role in how Waltham Public Schools responds to federal and state mandates?
Federal and state mandates apply to us. I mean, we have to follow them. There's been something on the docket for the past couple school committee meetings. I don't think any of us really wanted to vote it into the student handbook, but we had to protect our teachers, to protect our district. Federal laws have to be complied to, state laws have to be complied to. As much as we have say in our district and in our city, there are certain things that we have to comply to, and we certainly can reach out to those in places of authority that are able to make changes at the federal and state level, but in terms of things that filter down, we do have to abide by them.
Thank you. The next question is for Sabrina De Joannes. What can the school committee do to improve state test scores and other educational outcomes?
sure that we have all the resources and the teachers have their tools and technology to help our students learn. All of our economic competitors are highly standardized testing environments. If you go to the UK, if you go to Singapore, you go to anywhere in South Asia, the standardized tests assure everybody who's graduating from 10th grade, 12th grade, everybody's at the same level. We right now don't have that. And absent any other alternative, we are getting into the territory depending on which state you're coming from, which school district you're coming from, your degrees mean different things. So what we have to ensure is we teach our students the stamina to take standardized tests, whether they're required as a graduation or not. This is something that they're going to have as grown-ups. When you go off to the world and you want to be a doctor, or you want to practice electricity, you want to be a licensed electrician, you still have to take those standardized tests. And if you have never had that experience doing that, you're going to have a difficult time having that stamina to all of a sudden now take an 8-hour-long test. And that's something that we can teach our students.
Thank you. Now we'll go to the third round of questions. Liz Al-Jamal, what are the advantages and disadvantages of having specialized schools like the Valor High School and the dual language school?
The advantages are that the Valor High School was set up in order to meet the needs of our overage and undercredited students. Students who had dropped out that we were hoping to bring back in, students that were on the verge of dropping out that we're trying to keep in-house so that they can graduate. It's tailored to their needs. It's a hybrid model, so there's some classroom work, there's some work that they do virtually, there's some competency-based credits that they can earn. It's working individually with the students so that they get what they need in order to graduate. Would it be fantastic to do that for all our students? Absolutely. However, can we do that for over 5,000 students? Probably not. So the advantage is, yeah, it's tailored, specific to student needs. We're fortunate that we're able to do it for some, but unfortunately we're not able to do that. The capacity is just too high for everyone. Dual language school, again, I mean, it's such a fantastic environment. Kids come out multilingual, they come out multicultural. Would it be fantastic to do that for everyone? Absolutely. Again, resources. Do we have the resources to do that for everyone? No. The biggest shortage is finding qualified staff to do that. There is such a small pool of bilingual, highly qualified teachers. It's hard to staff the dual language school as small as it is. It would be even more difficult to do that district-wide. That's about it. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is for Tammy Wong-Bigelow. Waltham schools have had significant turnover in superintendents and a fair amount of turnover in school principals. What are the causes of the turnover and what steps should be taken to increase retention of good school leadership staff?
Having been someone who's worked as a teacher and been in the front line and being a frustrated educator, having to spend my own money on classroom supplies and such, I can see why some teachers have left due to monetary needs. And I can see that could happen to our administrators and our superintendents as well. And the
pressure to do the work and do the work well from the school committee, from parents, from just the state, from everyone, tends to bog people down and make it harder for them to want to stay in the profession or want to stay in one area. Before coming here, I did crunch some numbers about recruiting in Waltham. So right now, the contract that has expired, the contract states that someone with a bachelor's degree coming into first year teaching is $58,000. It's $58,878, which is equivalent to $28 an hour if you work a 40-hour week. And any teacher with their subs does not only work 40 hours a week. And then for a master's, $30.95 an hour. For a doctorate, $35 an hour. That's not the type of money that attracts people. And then our paras make $16 an hour, which makes it just a little bit over our minimum wage. And in Watertown, just one town over, teachers start between $5,000 to $8,100 more than we do in Waltham. We need to recruit people by giving them better competitive pay and better benefits as well.
Thank you. The next question is for Deborah Coleman. Waltham High School ranks in the bottom 10% of Massachusetts high schools. Why is it ranked so low, and what specific actions should be taken to help our high school students gain the skills they need for Waltham to receive a stronger rating?
So I think probably the majority of people in this room saw that article when it was ranked bottom 10%. A lot of things go into those rankings, and while there is some truth in them, there is also some areas that are a little bit, I don't know, I would say a little bit biased. There's no surprise that we have areas of growth. I think every single school in the United States has areas for growth. That being said, English language learners, they're probably going to have a little bit tougher time with MCAS results. There's a number of factors that come into the school rankings. At the same time, we have 100+ students in National Honor Society in a graduating class. There are students that are achieving, there are students that need supports, and there are students that maybe just don't take the standardized tests well. There are things that we can certainly do and are doing to try to improve attendance, different levels of classes so we can support the students that need it, support our English language learners. For instance, the Valor School opened up for people that are overage and undercredited. There are different things that we can do to help students and meet them where they are and help them to rise where they need to be. So bottom 10%, certainly where we were posted. I think there's a lot of great things going on at Waltham High School as well, and that is a little bit deceiving.
Thank you. Next question is for Sabrina J. Joannis. Given the current stressors in the community, what mental health resources would you advocate for to support students at the elementary, middle, and high schools?
We do not have, unfortunately, the pool to pull mental health counselors into our school buildings. There had been job postings for many months that has not been filled because nobody applied. The school adjustment counselors we have in our schools are overloaded with their caseloads. So that is the state of things right now. I definitely would advocate for having, it should be fine, a mental health professionals who are willing to work in school environments. We should have resources to be able to hire them. We also have to understand the reality. Those are getting harder and harder, even in the private sector.
Thank you. Now this is the third round of questions. Liz Al-Jamal. Waltham Public Schools has seen an increase in English language learning students and students receiving learning accommodations. What can the school committee and equity team do to respond?
The biggest thing we can do is make sure that we have the services in place for these students, making sure that we have enough ELL teachers. All our teachers are required to be certified in SEI, which is Sheltered Immersion English classes. And beyond that, I mean, it's up to really the superintendent to decide what goes on day to day in the classrooms. The school committee's job is really to make sure that we support the funding and the resources for those students. There are, going back to state mandates, there are state mandates that we are required to adhere to in regards to ELL classes, in regards to special education. Our job is to make sure that those are all well funded so that those resources are in place for those students.
Thank you. A moment ago I said this was round 3 of questions. It's actually round 4 of questions. The next question is for Tammy Wong. One top priority for readers of the Waltham Times was government transparency. How can the school committee help keep residents informed about the public school system?
So currently, school committee meetings are posted on the school committee website. And I think that if we want to make our meetings more accessible, more transparent, we can send emails and messages in multiple languages, not just a day before, but at least three days before the meetings. I would advocate for live captioning and live translation, though those are not always accurate, while we're broadcasting the school committee meetings to make it easier for people who might not be able to hear well, for people who do not speak the same language, to be able to see the words and hear it in their own language. And of course, with that said, we would have to work with WCAC to do that. I also think that on my part, I would put my own meeting summaries and notes on the website, my own website, which is currently translated into Spanish if need be. And of course, I welcome any discourse with fellow community members through email, face-to-face, or virtual meetings, depending on what type of need they have for and time commitments. Because as a working adult, I might not be able to talk with somebody until 7, 8 o'clock at night, maybe a virtual meeting for that, or emails would be great communicators. But yeah, that's how you could have more transparency by having captions, live translations, and summaries, and agendas, minutes, readily available. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is for Deborah Coleman. In the Waltham Times survey, readers most frequently mentioned school performance, equity in schools, and fundings and support for teachers in the district as school district priorities. Does anything jump out from these 3? Is there anything else that we haven't covered that you'd like to talk about? I'm going to repeat those 3. School performance, equity in schools, and funding and support for teachers.
I will echo my colleague Ms. Al-Jamal's comment from the opening statement. As a school committee member, we are actively engaged in negotiations with the teachers and other unions. I'm not able to comment further on one of those items. As for equity, I think that the superintendent that we have in place is very equity focused. She's just completed an equity audit of the district, an equity team is being put together, and those findings will be shared through our public school committee meetings. Equity is important to myself. I rarely speak on behalf of my colleagues on the school committee, but I know that it's important to them as well. For student achievement, that's one of the things I have applied to the league's questionnaire on as one of the two main things that I think we should be focusing on in the district. We've recently hired, at the beginning of the school year, a new assistant superintendent for curriculum. We're looking at all the curriculum that we have in place, making sure that it's the best for the students that we have. Seeing where the areas of growth are. Sometimes it takes a fresh set of eyes to look at something. Student achievement, we want to have the opportunities, as I mentioned earlier in one of my previous questions, we want to have the opportunities available for all students. If students need more of a challenge, we need the challenging classes there. If students need support, whether it be through a staffing support or an ELL support, those items need to be there, and those people and resources need to be there as well. So I think there's a lot that we can focus on for student achievement. I think even if we were in the top 99% of the state ranked for our high school, we can still do better as well. So.
Thank you. The final question is for Sabrina DeJohannes. The equipment purchased to support the trades taught within the new vocational or the new high school look wonderful. Some communities have adult education classes in subjects like cooking, woodworking, auto repair, and similar skills. How realistic would it be for Waltham to offer adult education in these skills, or in courses in English as a second language, or citizenship test preparation courses? What would be the obstacles to offer such courses, and how could they be overcome?
Some of those high-tech equipment that we have purchased for our new vocational program, the CTE program, you have to be licensed to operate those, to be teaching on those. And it might even happen that our current students, during the day, they start something and the machines are occupied. So on paper, it seems logical, hey, it's sitting there being unused, why don't we use them? Not all of them are going to be possible. There is the superintendent recently, yesterday, I think, just sent an email out for the 617 building utilization study, because at 617, a lot of the building is empty. And one of her idea was to look at community space. Should that come about, that would be a better location to offer night classes like we used to in our old high school system. I think South Junior or North Junior, one of them had night classes. You could do English as a second language, you could do civics lessons, citizenship preparation, any of those type of things. That would be a better location for those type of courses.
Okay, thank you. Now, before the closing statements, I'd just like to ask everyone, give me one sentence on what is your favorite thing about Waltham, and we'll start with Liz Al-Jamal.
The community feel.
Tammy?
The community and the diversity of our community.
Deborah?
To sound completely redundant, the community support that I just see outpouring anytime that there's a neighbor in need, whether they know the person or not.
All right, Sabrina?
tonight. Yeah, I don't want our parks and the green spaces we have. I live in the Highlands. I think one of the interviews I said, you know, I just have to sit in my living room and look out the picture window and Prospect Hill is on fire. So that amount of green space and being in such a big city, that's one of my favorite things.
Thank you. Now we will have the closing statements, starting with Ms. Al-Jamal.
I would like to thank once again the League of Women Voters for hosting this event, and to thank all of you for being here and spending time getting to know us tonight. As a member of the Waltham School Committee, I am, and always will be, student-focused. Every decision I make is grounded in data, student outcomes, and the voices of our young people. If re-elected, I will build on our progress by strengthening student achievement, deepening our commitment to equity, and ensuring our schools are safe and inclusive for every student. I will do this by advocating and supporting policies and resources that close achievement gaps, enhance classroom learning, and foster an environment where each and every child can reach their full potential. I am also not afraid to ask tough or unpopular questions, because accountability matters. Early voting will take place this Saturday through Tuesday at the Rosario Malone Archive and Record Center, and the municipal election will be held Tuesday, November 4th. My name is Liz Al-Jamal, and I would be honored and humbled to receive one of your 3 votes for Waltham School Committee. Thank you, and have a good night.
Thank you. Next, Tammy Wong Bigelow.
So, thank you again for having us and having this forum tonight. Tonight we've discussed a variety of topics, all interesting and informative. We've talked about graduation requirements, reading math policies, student achievement, mental health, reading, the most urgent areas, federal state mandates, EL learning and accommodations, school committee, transparency, and so much more. If elected, I'd like to focus on where our resources go, because I want to make sure that we can use the money that we have wisely, maybe do some creative budgeting if need be, because we already know that federal funding is dwindling, therefore our state funding is going to as well. So really look at what is the most efficient way to use our resources. I also like to focus on mental health, because I know that with the current times, the stressors are causing trauma. I've seen it in my home. My 8-year-old asks every time a black truck passes by if it's good police or bad police. My middle child has asked me to put all my Chinese things away. So I know that mental health is a very important issue for all our students right now, and a lot of them are going through some trauma. My priorities are for students and teachers, as I've been on the front line for middle school, high school, college, and opportunity youth. And I think that with my broader perspective through my experience, I will serve the students, teachers, and parents of Waltham and help us elevate to meeting higher expectations and achieve greater potential in our schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Deborah Coleman.
I want to thank you all for being here this evening and taking the time to learn more about me, as well as my fellow candidates that are running to serve our community. I also want to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting tonight's event and the opportunity to share my vision for Waltham Public Schools. My hope is that after this evening, you have a clear sense of who I am, both as a person as well as a school committee member. Over the last 4 years, I've been proud of the progress that we've made together, but I know that there's still important work ahead. That's why I'm seeking re-election to continue advancing the growth and success of Waltham Public Schools. My focus has always been, and will continue to be, our students, ensuring that every child in Waltham has access to a high-quality, equitable education, and that we plan thoughtfully for the future of our district. I'd like to repeat that one more time. My focus has always been, and will continue to be, our students. If re-elected, I will continue to prioritize student achievement, expand support for mental health and wellness, and advocate for initiatives that put students at the center of every decision we make. If you have any questions after tonight, whether they're topics that we discussed here, questions my other candidates have been asked and maybe I didn't have a chance to answer, please don't hesitate to reach out. I truly value hearing from members of the community. Early voting begins this weekend, runs through next Tuesday, and Election Day is November 4th. I'll be honored to earn one of your votes. You have 3, and I look forward to hopefully serving the students and families of Waltham in the future. Thank you again and have a wonderful night.
Thank you. Sabrina De Juanes.
Thank you again for having us here tonight, and thank you for everybody for coming here. I have aimed tonight to illustrate my dedication to the city I have called home for the past 10 years. I have grown roots here. I'm engaged in the community. I'm the treasurer of Friends of the Waltham Public Library, and I'm reviewing grants for Waltham Cultural Council. My education-centered volunteerism inspires me to take today's Waltham to build the Waltham of tomorrow for all our students. I will work tirelessly for Waltham schools to work for everyone, from the 4th generation students with anchors in town to the newcomers learning English, from the gifted to the middle of the road to the neurodivergent. We have to meet each student where they are and offer them appropriate support at every step. Every student deserves to reach their potential and enjoy full school experience with inspiring adults around them who remove barriers and spark their curiosity to ask, how, why, what if? We are a city rich with history and a dedicated community willing to help with our neighbors. I have met so many community members who are eager to pay it forward. This is why I volunteer too. I am the free resource at the school, the extra body to sharpen coloring pencils, or to tie shoelaces, or to read together. I'm your neighbor, ally, and advocate. Should I be elected, I plan to hold monthly office hours to hear from you. I plan to visit each of the schools at least once during each school year. I would like to wish my daughter Anamika a happy 7th birthday. Anamika, thank you for understanding that Abu is doing it for you and Abu and all the children in Waltham, so you too can one day have the audacious dream and be able to make it come true. Please have a plan to vote on November 4th, early voting. I will be honored to get one of your 3 votes. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our program for tonight, and I'd like a round of applause for our candidates. I'd like to thank Waltham 781 for live streaming this event, and I'd like to recognize the Waltham Times, and I would urge everyone to vote on November 7th. And oh, sorry, November 4th, Tuesday, November 4th. And I just want to emphasize that what we're seeing here is democracy in action, which is one of the tenets of the League of Women Voters. Thank you, everyone, for coming.